presentation. I understood that not all people who are going to present have a linguistic background, so I will also give some extra caveats for linguistic presentations. First of all, let us have a look at the structure of your presentation. As you know, there is 15 minutes for your PowerPoint presentation, and then you get 5 minutes for discussion. During the discussion, the other students, your colleagues, can ask questions, and I will also try to ask one question. In the 15-minute PowerPoint presentation, for that you should prepare a PowerPoint, or you can use Microsoft PowerPoint, or you could use Keynote, but be sure to make a PDF of your slides. And then the first slide should be a title slide, including your name, maybe some visualization of your topic. And then when showing your first slide, you can already introduce your topic to the public. You can summarize your topic, for instance, in one sentence. And then the second slide can be the outline. The outline, that means the structure of the presentation. That could be like 3 or 4 bullet points showing what you're going to do. And then you can move to the body of your presentation. Probably there will be one slide introducing your research question, the research topic, why you chose it, and what the exact question is that you're going to answer in your presentation. The next slide could be your method. Which data set did you use? Which literature did you check? What's your approach? What's your sources? And then you can move to your findings. And when presenting your findings, it would be nice that you presented them with examples. Examples with real linguistic data are very much appreciated. And after this, I will also give some instructions about how to present linguistic data. And then finally, you move to a conclusion, a summary of the talk you have given. You can point out the relevance of your talk. Why is it important? Why did you choose the topic? What does it tell us? And or you could also situate your topic within the bigger picture of linguistics or Japanese studies in an outlook. And in the end, your presentation could give a reference list with about 3 sources that you used to make the presentation. So that's basically how the presentation could look. Your slides then, it would be good if you could have one slide, as we already said, or with an outline explaining the structure of your presentation so that all the people can follow well. And then if you make your slides, try to avoid full text. So don't put sentences from the top to the bottom that you then read aloud, but just give some keywords so that your audience can just have an easy overlook when just looking at a few keywords on the slides. So not too much text, not too many words. For the examples, the best way is to use the Leipzig glossing rules. I will explain what Leipzig glossing rules are hereafter. And then for citations in your presentation, it's always good to refer to a certain source by giving the author's name. For instance, Miller, then the year of publication, 1972, then a colon, and then the page number. And you put that between brackets. And then the convention in linguistics is also that when you cite words, especially in comparative linguistics, where you use not only one language or one dialect, but where you compare different languages and different dialects, you start with language, for instance, Japanese. Then you give the word, but the word is always cursive as it is a foreign form. So, for instance, Japanese sake would be cursive. And then you give the meaning of the word between single quotes. So, alcoholic drink, for instance. That's the convention that is not only used in linguistic presentations, but also in linguistic articles. And then for your sources, the main thing is that in citing sources, you choose a consistent style. One style that is often used in linguistics is the Unified Linguistics bibliography style, for which I included a URL link here. However, if you come from another scientific background and you feel more comfortable with another style, that's fine for me too. But just try to keep it consistent. You cannot cite one source in style A and another source in style B. Just try to use the same formatting for your sources. And then the visualization, I tend to think that visualization is important, especially when giving PowerPoint presentations. And I think especially when giving lectures and presentations online, it is often difficult to understand long, full, complex sentences. But if you have a few illustrations that catch the eye, that will always help. And then some people are maybe worried about copyright rights when you take something from the internet. Is that okay to do or not? Uh, as we are in a small group, I think it is okay to take pictures from the internet or from a book which you scan, as long as you mention the online source, that's fine. So we are not in a position that we need to pay rights to a certain publisher or so if we are just working within a small group of students. Then for the delivery of your PDFs and of your data, of your analysis, I would like to ask you to make a PDF from your slides. And something that I kind of forgot to stress last time when I contacted Mark Hudson and Ning Chow for their guest lectures is that the PDF should be less than 10 MB. If it's more than 10 MB, you can get in trouble because sometimes the system doesn't take it or it's not easily downloadable. That is a bit a problem that we had last time with the guest lectures. It reminded me of the importance of reminding you to try to limit your presentations to 10 MB. I should have said that on forehand too to our guest lecturers because I realized that it was not so fluent last time, and that I lost actually your valuable study time. So I apologize for that. I also learn. This is also new for me. This experience with giving guest lectures online. Usually, I invite people to the classroom, and then there is a whole different set of problems. But I'm used to them. So here in this case, there were some technicalities that made it rather difficult, and that's also why I want to warn you ahead, so that you know, make your PDFs small enough, 10 MB, so that you do not have problems. Also remind that there's an absolute deadline for the submission of the PDF for your slides, and that is no shorter than 1 week before your presentation. So by then, I would like to receive your PDF. You sent this PDF to my email address that is noted here. And if you, when rehearsing in the last week, you suddenly see that there is a minor typo, or you still think, oh no, this slide is not really fluent, I'm going to change that slide, then feel free to do that. It's fine to make some minor last minute revisions, as long as I have a basic presentation that will do. In a way, your PDF presentation will also serve as a backup. Imagine that you have problems loading your PDF on the system, at the very time, then I will still have it here and I could still press the button for you while you are speaking. After Mark's presentation, I realized this is also what I should have done. So I should have asked him to send me a PDF before class so that I had a backup. So like that, we all learn. And then here the Leipzig glossing rules. So the idea of these glossing rules is that across the world, all linguists, mostly the linguists writing in English, use the same rules to give examples. So the same standards and the same criteria to give linguistic examples. And there's a detailed PDF of how these Leipzig glossing rules work at the URL that you see here, but I will just give a summary of the most important points. Note that they are called Leipzig glossing rules because they were originally developed at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology in Leipzig about 10 years ago. So here, the first idea behind the Leipzig glossing rules is that when you have a sentence, you always gloss the sentence word by word. So for each word, you give its meaning. Mostly, as linguists are mostly working with different language varieties, you always note the language from which this example comes. You can also number your example. So the first example number is 1, and then you put Japanese. And on the line beneath, you put the sentence that is your examples. For instance, here I made it Nara Nara Shika Shika. And Nara means Nara, it is a city in Japan. Nara can be translated with if. Shika means deer, the animal, and shka can also mean only. So there's a one-to-one translation of word and meaning. And then the third line of your glossing should always be the example, the semantics, the meaning, and you put the meaning between quotes, between single quotes. And here the meaning would be something like in Nara there are only deer. So it's something that is often said in Japan, because in Nara you have this park around the temple where there are many deer. Nara Nara Shka Shka. So the second glossing rule concerns affixes. So affixes are morphemes, little building stones of words, morphemes that are attached to a word stem to form a new word or to give this word a function in the sentence. You can attach the morpheme in the end of a word. You can attach the morpheme in the beginning or of the word. In the beginning, that would be a prefix. At the end, that would be a suffix. Mostly in Japanese, it will be at the end of the word. There are very few prefixes in Japanese, as we already said, and also very few in other Trans-Eurasian languages. Such suffixes are separated from the word using a hyphen. And a good thing to do is to check for each example whether the number of hyphens in the examples is equal to the number of hyphens in your gloss. So for instance, here we have our second example that again comes from the language Japanese. The sentence is Hayaku kai ni ike yo. Hayaku means fast, but it is separate. So the root of the word is haya, like in hayai, you separate the i. It means fast. The suffix in this word is an adverbial suffix, ku. So we separate this adverbial suffix with a little hyphen. And this suffix is glossed as adv. The glosses of suffixes are always written in capitals. So here you get adv for adverbializer. Then we have cow in Japanese. The root of cow is this ka, which means by. Then you have an e that can be separated as it is the suffix to form the infinitive, kai, and then we have a dative following it. And here again we have iku, go. The stem of the verb iku is ik. This ike is an imperative, so the is separated with a hyphen, and here too, and you get imperative. And then there is a clitic uh, for an expressive suffix. And then here again we add the meaning go to by it quickly. In many cases, you will find your examples in linguistic literature. So, in this linguistic literature, the example will probably already be glossed. So, in many cases, you will just have to copy the gloss or maybe improve it a little bit. But in many cases, if you cite from linguistic literature, you might already have the gloss. So it will not be such a big trouble for you finding out how to gloss it. And then the third category is the clitics. Clitics are little words that have a syntactic function, but they are more loosely attached than an affix. And because they are more loosely attached, we do not use a hyphen, but we use an equal sign in the case of affixes. So, for instance, our second example, to Japanese, hayaku kai ni ikeyo. Here we have this ni, which is a dative suffix or a dative particle, it's also called, that is less bound to a word than the other suffixes, and that's why we indicate it here with an equal sign. And then date, that comes from dative. The ni is a little word that gives the direction or the intention, and therefore we call it a dative. And this ike imperative is followed by an illocutionary particle, yo, and that's why we abbreviate it here by il. And then we have the meaning. And then we can also have one-to-many correspondences. And for one-to-many correspondences, we use periods. For instance, in Japanese, you have the verb in the infinitive here, deru, to come out. This stem de means to come out. That's only one word in Japanese, but that is two words in English. So we indicate that by putting a little dot here in English between come and out. And then we separate the ru, the infinitive suffix, with a hyphen. And we gloss to come out. Another example of one-to-many correspondences is not where the root has two meanings or two words coming together, but here it's the suffix that can have two meanings. As Japanese and other Trans-Eurasian languages are agglutinative, as we already mentioned, there's very often a one-on-one correspondence between the morpheme and its meaning. However, in other languages across the world, like in our Indo-European languages, we see that these languages are more fusional. That means that they fuse different meanings on one suffix, on one morpheme. For instance, here, an example from Latin, we have insularum in Latin, where the insul is the root and means island, but this arum is a single suffix that cannot be split, but it has two meanings, so to say, genitive, plural. You could even say it's genitive feminine and plural. So this combinations of two meanings on one morpheme is also indicated by putting a little dot between genitive and plural. So that's basically how the Leipzig glossing rules work, and how the examples given in your presentations and perhaps in your homeworks, if you're going to write one, should be glossed. There are also some rules for references. Here I list some of the rules that come from the Unified Linguistics bibliography style. One thing to keep in mind is that in the body of your text or in the body of your slides, you can refer to an author by using his family name plus the year plus the page numbers. For instance, here, Marshall 1964, colon 12, finds complications. Or as several phonologists have noted, and then between brackets you put a reference to all the phonologists. Or in your presentations, if you use only an example, you could also, and you have you did not come up with the example yourself, but you took it from some linguistic source, then you can also refer to the linguistic source, like here Murayama 2020-23. So that are the different ways to refer when it's within your presentation. In the end of your presentation or in the end of your homework, there will be a bibliography or a list of references, and there you can put the sources, around 3 sources you used. There are different rules. For instance, monographs, books are represented in a different way. Here we see the author's name, the year, the title of the book, and then the place of publication, and here the publisher, Cambridge University Press. But in the case of an article in a journal, you do not give the publisher or the press, you just give the authors of the article, the year of publication, the title of the article, and then the title of the journal in which it appeared with the journal number. Sometimes there's also a special volume. For instance, in language 59, would have a volume 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the volume number and then the page numbers. And when it's in a collection, there's a collection that means like a book in which articles or chapters appear. For instance, here, Rizenen Matti, the date of publication, he has written a chapter that is titled Syntax, and he did that in a book edited by Roger Lass. The editor, here you indicate him by adding ed, and then the title, the volume, and the page number, and then again the place of publication and the press. So that's basically how you form consistent references. Then to the presentation style of your papers. I like fluent styles, educative classroom styles. The audience are the students, so don't make it too complicated, don't make it too stuffy. Just clear and simple will do. I prefer that you do not read and that you do not write notes to read off. Of course, I can check that when you are in the classroom, but I cannot check that when you are at home. If you are reading, however, normally people can hear that at the sound of your voice, so that can be a bit disturbing, that can be a bit boring for other people to listen. So it's nicer if you just don't read but explain and try to contact the people you're speaking to. Especially now with these online classes, I think it would be good if you used short sentences, clear language, and also something that I tend to do wrongly sometimes is that I speak a bit too fast. I'm used to be in a classroom, and there the speed can be a bit higher. But if you speak if you speak online, it's better to speak slower because sometimes the connection is not good or people don't get it very well. So for technicalities, speaking slower is always better. Last time we had somebody with an excellent speed. That was Mark Hudson. He speaks very low and clear. And then we had our Chinese friend, Ning Chao, who is very enthusiastic about his subject, but tends to speak a bit too fast. And then, especially online, it is difficult to understand. Then also make it as visual as possible. Also, when presenting online, it's a plus to make things visual for your public. Try to avoid term dropping. Things are already complex enough in these circumstances, so don't use difficult words. If you do use difficult linguistic terms, try to explain them to your audience so that they know what you're talking about. But don't come up with a presentation full of difficult linguistic terms and techniques, because in 15 minutes your audience will never be able to follow what you're saying. Um, and then, if possible, it would also be nice if you could make some cross reference. That is, if you could refer to a certain chapter in the course where we have seen something that relates to your topic, or you could also refer to presentations of other colleagues that that speak on a similar topic. If you feel better, you can also ask, the topics of your colleagues, so presentations. So you could also contact them and ask uh, what the content will exactly be, and you could think about how you could refer to them or how you could build that into your presentation. And then before your talk, it would be good if you could exercise. Always used to say 3 to 5 times in front of a mirror, but now in these times we have our screen, we have video, so you could also just sit in front of your screen and make a video of yourself just to see how it sounds like and how it looks like when you are presenting. Then the talk, as already said, should be 15 minutes. But sometimes when you're very enthusiastic about your topic, 15 minutes are very short. And you might think, oh, my slides are just 15 minutes. And then when you present it in real time, it's much longer. So make sure to really clock it on second and minute before you come to the classroom or to the virtual classroom. So check your timing. And then be sure to test your PowerPoint or your PDF first on your own laptop. And then also watch this big blue bottom tutorial so that you know how to upload your presentation. That was also a bit of a problem last time. I sent them the tutorial, but I think they just assumed that everything would be easy and without problems. But these things, especially when you're a bit nervous and there's not so much time to switch between speakers, they can go wrong. It's like Murphy's Law. When something can go wrong, it will go wrong. So it would be good if you could just upload your presentation and try to present it uh, on the BBB platform before you come to class. So you can always access this platform for a tryout. And what I also noticed last time is that when people do not use Chrome as a browser, there can be some little problems, unforeseen things, like, for instance, the camera doesn't work or other things, or it's more difficult to upload. So if you can, please use a Chrome browser. That's to be on the safe side. And then the only thing that I would like to add is that I saw that some people have really problems with their internet connection. So their connection is not strong enough to connect through video. But then if you're going to present, you will need to connect through video. A possibility that I can think of, but I should explore whether it's possible, is that you go to my office at the university in Mainz, linguistic department, and that you sit in that office, use the internet connection there, and present from there. So in case that you really have trouble with your internet connection at home and you think it will not be enough to do your presentation, we could explore that possibility. It will take some arrangements with Frau Spahn, because I think on Friday she leaves the office earlier, and now with Corona, there's also less people there. But if really there's no other option, then please let me know so that we can try to arrange something for you. I will just now ask for a poll. So A would be I want to explore this possibility. So if possible, I want to make use of the office in Mainz. And B would be that you're safe and that you think that your connection at home will be enough. Yes, I see that 8 presenters, and I think we have only 8 presenters. So most of the people, or all the people, think that their internet connection at home will be enough. So that's good. Then I trust that I will see you on video and that it will be okay to upload the presentation. Thank you.